let's go ahead and start talking. So, just so you know what you're just been listening to, this is Eduardo Cardinho and Miguel Moreira, which is and the orchestra of jazz from Espinho. So Espinho is little beach town very close to Porto. So actually very close to when I used to be an athlete, when I wasn't this fat and I was running, I used to actually run from my home to this town. So it's it just came out I believe last year, and it's basically a beautiful jazz, Portuguese jazz, which doesn't exist a lot. There's some interesting Portuguese labels now, especially one called Jazz Ego, and I invite you to go check them out. So before we start, I would like to let you know two things. This is not meant to be any type of masterclass. It's not to be we're better than anyone. Well, Fred is better than me, definitely. It's basically a conversation among two friends. I had the pleasure to meet Fred around almost 12 years ago. Actually, before I moved to Thailand, my last 2 weekends in Europe one of them was in Porto, where I used to live, and Fred played at GAR, the club I used to work. And then I had my very good friends in Italy, and I decided I'm going to also spend my last weekend in Europe. Instead of spending it with my family, I said I'm going to Italy to spend it with my friends. And turns out Fred was also playing. So that's how we first met, and then we reconnected now about a year and something ago here in Bangkok. So please welcome Fred. He's our special friend of the afternoon.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? Good to see you all.
So as I mentioned, this is really not to be meant to be a masterclass, but I think everybody that is here is very passionate about music. Either we are DJs, we are producers, we are talented musicians, and we all come from different places. Both from here, we can see from Australia, from Thailand, from New York. And the idea is to battle this whole thing about we just discover music by Instagram Reels and all of that stuff, right? And is to try to bring back this friends, like value your friends that share music with you. You know, like for example, yesterday I got the pleasure, actually I was trying to buy some record online, and then turns out good friend popped up and he gave me the exact same record that I was actually trying to buy online. Turns out my wife is very happy because I didn't spend money on a record. So it's all of this, it's just to bring back this idea of let's share music with your friends without just sending them a link or to just play it, you know? And it's to bring back this idea of actively listening to music that maybe, obviously Fred playing all around the world, he will play in the club scene, and the way you will listen, obviously in a club, will be different. But maybe now we can actually pay attention to it in a different form, and that's pretty much all this is. You know, there's nothing more.
Right, to your point, very interesting story about the ethos of sharing music with your friends. I'll go back a few decades into the 90s. There was like a 2.5, 3 year period where I wasn't making any music at all. I had totally given up on production or any form of sharing music. A very good friend of mine from the neighborhood that I grew up in, I had moved, and we had separated, hadn't seen each other for a while, and then randomly one day he walks in through the front door of the job I was working at the time, and we reconnected. For some perspective, this is the only other person in the neighborhood that I grew up in who was also into electronic music. So yeah, that was a very special day. And from that day forward, he would come to my job on my lunch hour. We would hang out and talk, and he would bring me cassette tapes of music that he had collected on his travels throughout Europe. And at that time, I hadn't listened to any music seriously for about 2 years. And it was a very important moment because it was the thing that inspired me to get back into production, and the snowball effect of that is me sitting here now speaking with Roy about sharing music with your friends. It's very important because you have no idea the impact it could possibly have on a person. For me, it was the seed that opened the door for me to realize an actual career that has now been over 2 decades. So if you have a friend who likes the music you like, share everything you have.
So, I mean, everybody knows that obviously Fred is very much into electronic music, but I know you also have a big passion for jazz. So, as the first song I will play is actually from my favorite jazz album of all times, which is John Coltrane with Johnny Hartman. And this album is special because it's actually kind of the record that made me fall in love with jazz. And it's been pretty much a rabbit hole into this whole world of jazz and what is jazz, what is not, and how much money I've been spending on all of this. So yeah, I'll play you the first track that is They Say It's Wonderful. And it's also actually every time I make changes on my home setup is also the first track I always play. So I thought it would be a good first track to start the afternoon.
They say that falling in love is wonderful.
So yeah, this is really one of my ultimate favorite jazz albums. I think is really, I mean, for me it's very special because my dad used to have it on a CD, and it's really one of the very first records I actually bought. And I remember McCoy Tyner came to play in a little town next to Porto. They used to have a really good jazz festival, and so McCoy Tyner came, who's the original pianist of this album when he was 20 years old in 1965, and Jose James, who's also a great singer. They played this album, and I was literally hugging the album in concert, and I still have in the back, I still have the ticket of all of it, and it was a very, very special evening. So yeah, that was my first track.
That's amazing. You know, I got the feeling listening to that. It reminded me of when I was a kid in New York, because usually around holiday time you start to hear that particular sound. It is very reminiscent of like home and holidays and family and closeness. I think it has a lot to do with the sentiment, of course, and then also to the recording methods, because they stand the test of time. The reproduction on any system is almost like the day they recorded it, so the feelings are fresh.
It's actually a one take. The whole album, except the last track, is a one take.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. Like Kinda Blue was like that too. You know, like all done in one take, no rehearsal, just all feeling. And yeah, that's why those records stand up so well, because it's all captured on tape and then reproduced on vinyl and so on. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, well, I have something to share. I was just recently in Tokyo, and anytime I'm there, I always make a point to go to Tower Records because it's like one of the only ones left on the planet, and buy CDs. So I found a Mondo Grosso that I have never seen before. The name of this album is called Attuned Detune. I have no idea what's on it, what it sounds like or whatever, but I'm super excited to find out. So we're all going to find out together.
走り出した月を追いかけ秘密の相談星に問いかけ連れて行けどうか遠くにお願いだあなたの近くにアスファルトに散らばる夢拾い集め現在
That was interesting.
That was good.
Yeah, that's usually what I do. I'll go into the jazz floor or the electronic floor or mostly there's not much of a club floor anymore, so it's usually jazz and electronic all in the same area, and I'll randomly grab familiar and unfamiliar CDs and find or discover something new. This is totally unexpected. So yeah, I'm now really curious as to what the rest of the album is like.
So following that, actually something that it reminded me. I was wondering if between playing my favorite French rap album of all times, which is by I Am, and is I was actually going to bring it, and I said, oh, maybe it's not going to like make sense. Turns out it could have actually made sense. It would have been a track called Petit Frère, which means little brother. And the lyrics are, I mean, that band is just like from another world. I mean, the original press, it's like $500 kind of record. Even if there's one of the three records missing, people still sell it for $500K. $500 on Discogs. But you can also find it on Juno as a reissue, which is way cheaper. But without going to that, I'll go into that Portuguese label called Jazz Ego. And this is a record by a band called Bardino. And it's an instrumental band. But this specific track, there is a Portuguese rapper in it, who's a good friend of mine now called Hugo, who is also one of the owners of the label, and he's also a great musician. So he's also known as Minus and MrDolly, and like his productions are great. So this song is called Pedra Mãe, which means Mother Stone.
Este espaço agora é apenas jardim, sem mais traços do que fica para contar a mar-se às estações seguintes. Há pouco resta da cor com que o sol pinta o teu cabelo e a chuva molha o novembro com os tons cinza do meu. No monólogo.
So yes, this was Bardino with Minus and MrDolly. It's so from that Portuguese label based in Porto. The interesting thing is about the label is it's actually like kind of like Porto is pretty small, so it's kind of like your neighborhood label, jazz label, because the records are pressed in Porto. The design is all from Porto. Every single artist is from Porto. So, in Portugal, we still have this whole thing about Porto, Lisbon, So there's a lot of pride in people from Porto to say this is a Porto. It's basically a Porto label, and that's why it's. Not why it's very good, but it's one of the good factors about it. I think they're very. If you guys have a chance, really look into it. They have really good bands. They also have a really good record store called Circus Network, which is where I bought almost all of their catalog from their label and other really good stuff. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, about a week ago, about a week ago, I was in Detroit, and I was very lucky and fortunate to have a moment to meet, say hello, and grab a hug from Moods and Grooves' boss, who actually bought me a couple of records, so I want to play it for you right now. I have to say, solid gold players are always great. It's a little bit dense tune, it's a little change of pace, but being so, that's my primary modality as far as music goes. Most of my stack is going to be electronic music. So I'll just play the first track for you right now. I believe this one is called I Choose You. So that was the Solid Gold Playaz. Label is Moods and Grooves. Mike Grant, again, great label boss, wonderful person. Basically, the entire Moods and Grooves catalog is total quality, lots of classics. Detroit is a very important place in terms of electronic dance music, modern electronic dance music. It's the birthplace of techno and still drives a large portion of the creative population within electronic music. So I was very fortunate to be gifted 2 brand new releases by the label boss. I'm super hyped about that. So yeah, Solid Gold Playaz.
Yeah, sounds great. It sounds like something you could have done too. Similar to your sound. So following you into more electronic music, I'll go to another, actually also an American producer called Space Ghost. I don't know if you heard about it. It's quite recent. This press just came out. The record itself, I believe, is 2-3 years old. The songs, I mean, and it's really one of my favorite deep housey tracks to play on, for example, by the pool on a sunset time, afternoon, like relaxed stuff. It's the track is called Emotional Healer. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So yeah, this was Space Ghost. I really like it. I think you can kind of hear like some waves in the background, and I think that's why it really takes me to being by the water and listening to music by the water. I think that's really that background noise of the waves that takes me there.
Has a very feel-good kind of energy to it. You know, that nostalgic 90s piano house kind of deal, which always works because it's kind of uplifting, happy sound.
Yeah.
Especially when you stab it, you know, dun, 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 you know. It's very recognizable to most people because, the 90s, the piano house sound was huge. And it's made a huge comeback since. So I get that. I like the feeling of it too. Okay, some of you might know this because it's kind of a standard. Rhythm and Sound, the versions. I saw this also too in Tower, and it doesn't matter how many copies of this I have, I always pick it up. This is a very Berlin collection of music. I mean, if you can imagine, if you've ever been to Berlin, if you can imagine like 3-4 o'clock in the morning and let's say November or December with this in your earphones, yeah, you would get it 100%. Okay, I'm just going to play the first one off of this, but I think most of you might recognize this. Let's give it up for the Void System. Makes rhythm and sound sound so good, don't you agree?
Yeah, I do. That's also why we have it here at the hotel, right?
I have to say, yeah, it sounds absolutely amazing. Yes, dub music is huge in Germany, believe it or not. And when you juxtapose that against techno, you get dub techno. And when you mix that with other things, like if you go into proper hard dark techno with some dub, some interesting things can happen. And oddly enough, I discovered it when I moved to Berlin, roughly around 17 years ago, and been a fan ever since. Rhythm and sound. The versions, if you ever get a chance, pick it up.
Yeah, really good stuff. So yeah, following you, I'm going to play a track now from one of my favorite. He's a great hip hop producer, very well known into the French touch, but he's also one of my favorite trip hop producers, and that's a DJ Cam out of Paris.
Cam is amazing.
This album has a tricky thing, which is my favorite track called Uncomfortable. Is the name is on the cover, but it's not on the record. So I might aim at the wrong one. So bear with me.
All your life, you've been waiting for a chance to get one above.
So yeah, DJ Cam is really one of my favorite producers, and I actually, it's not a bragging thing, but I actually have all of his records. It's really one of those that I really like every single thing he puts out, and so I just buy them all. You know, there's a few artists like this that, as a record collector, I have certain goals, and there's certain artists that I really want to own everything that they make because I love it all. And there's DJ Cam is one of them. And then my main goal is actually to own every Miles Davis and every John Coltrane album. It's difficult because every damn year there is a new compilation of Miles Davis. I mean, I don't go to the rabbit hole of buying every single compilation, but not too far from it.
Challenging. I admire collecting the catalogs of artists that do moving stuff. I do admire that because if you look at a particular artist, for example, Miles Davis, it's like you can listen to their entire catalog from one to whatever, and it's like going to university. You know, if you are like a music person and you're looking for let's say like a through line or a similarity between that person and yourself, and you're listening to their life's work, you will find something that connects you to them or a similarity between you and them, because music is a humanitarian language, and one that doesn't require you to know like dialect or anything like that. It's you feel it, you understand it. You can even see a little piece of yourself in it. And I mean, I kind of feel that way about artists. I'm more into their philosophy, like what actually drives them to make the stuff as opposed to making the stuff. And the weirder the artist, the stranger the philosophy, and I find the better the music, actually. Another record I was actually gifted by the great Donato Dazzi. Last time I saw him, he gave me a promo from a new label that he's doing with very little information on it. Just says After Hours Series Volume 3. I heard him play one of the tracks. It was like his exit track from I was playing after him, and he just like gives me the record. Long story short, it was dope, and I want to share it with you. I'm just going to bring the tempo up a little bit. And here we go.
So this is his track or just his new label?
No. Yes. It is. And both track and label. I have to say, I adore these types of records. For one, because it's all artisan, like limited and vinyl only. And if you don't know, you won't get a copy. And what makes records like these important is because they capture moments in time. Now, this is properly categorized as after hours record because it's a different type of music. Let's say from the normal flow of an evening out, the later it gets, especially in the after hours, it becomes more drony, more repetitive, more hypnotic, and all of which Donato Dozzi is a master of. And these types of records are very valuable. In fact, they're the main types of vinyl that I collect. That things that will show up once in history and never again. And they are not necessarily promoted. It's more like a community kind of deal. Like you know, there's a certain set of producers that make a particular type of music for a particular type of environment for a particular time. And, you know, I can name a few, but like one person who comes to mind who's absolutely famous for it is Ricardo Villalobos, who makes probably the most epic electronic music. And when you start getting into the after hours sound, he kind of like blueprint like the last 2 decades of that. So, yeah, After Hours series, Donato Dozzi, and the voice system, again, makes it sound so wonderful.
Yeah. So, staying into this vinyl-only kind of thing, which, again, this idea is not to be just a vinyl. The format doesn't really matter because what we want to share is the music. But coming back to the beginning where I said it's the idea is to bring back friends who share music and friends who I don't do anything. I mean, I do some things, but I don't make any music. I'm trying, but it's still not there. This is actually, the next track is from this, my very two good friends called Hiver out of Italy. And so they are those friends that I went to see in Milano. And they still are some of my favorite dub techno producers. And now their sound changed a little bit. They're now obviously under Peggy Goo. So their sound is a little bit different. But yeah, this is really one of my favorite dub techno tracks. And this is actually a gift that they gave me that time that I went to Italy to see them. And then turns out Fred was also there. So yeah, this is Hiver and the track Right Place.
That's nice. I like that a lot. Deep, atmospheric. Yeah, it's right up my alley. Well, speaking of artists we admire, this is, for some reason, a lot lately I've been being gifted white labels like crazy. So there's no label information. It's just a white label. However, I know this record is from Rick Wade, who I've been a super fan of for many years, another Detroit artist, legend, icon, in my opinion. And this is one of his new ones off of, I believe, well, it's distributed by Yoyaku. I'm not sure of the label, but Rick Wade, ladies and gentlemen. Rick Wade. Yeah. To be quite honest with you, yeah, that one will do damage on the dance floor.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I'm gonna slow things down a bit. Sorry. Staying in the topic of celebrating people who make music, and that's what I love. I mean, I love to listen to music. I love to buy records, and I think it's, for me, very important to praise people who do that. And we are lucky this afternoon to not only have great producer like you, but we also have 3 really good musicians. And turns out they made this beautiful album, and I really, really like it. And turns out those who like it the most, and this is, as I told one of them, it's a compliment, are my dogs. And my dogs love jazz. I have one of my dogs literally naps next to the sub I have at home so that he can feel all the energy that comes out of it. So I'm going to play you this album from Rees out of Melbourne, and turns out they're actually all here today. So we will actually listen to it. This the track that I'm going to play is one of my favorites. It's called Lagoon. So as I was saying, this was the Rees, who's here with us. There's Lucky on the drums, and then Alan as well. So yeah, they're here with us. So I wanted to share with all of you their music is really incredible. I discovered it. Pam was playing it somewhere. I don't remember exactly where, and I really liked it. I actually took a photo of the cover, and that's how I ended up ordering. And yeah. Out on Mr. Bongo in 2024, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Big up, Mr. Bongo. Amazing work. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, I seem to have a theme going with the white labels, so I'll share another with you. This one is one of mine. It's on a record called Studio 9. Short story, I took a trip to Taiwan about 3-4 years ago for a party where there was a live painting happening, and there were dancers and things of that nature. Long story short, a whole entire album came out of it, and this is the EP from the album, and more about that story as we get closer to the release, but this particular record is inspired by that night and my trip to Taiwan, and it's just a short piece from it.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is there a release date already? Is there a release date? Soon.
Soon.
Okay.
Maybe another 2 weeks or something.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Great, so
Studio 9.
beautiful. I'm going to use a cheat code now, and this is why when I said the format doesn't matter, is no, I'm not going to sing. Don't worry. So there is a record that is, for me, one of, or maybe the most beautiful modern jazz song, and it's very hard to find anything better than that. Not in jazz, but I mean as modern jazz, and that is "Love Is the Message." So "Love Is the Message" has four of the best musicians at the moment, being obviously Yussef Days, Alfa, Mansur Brown, and Rocco Paladino. For a very long time, this record was my biggest regret. And my regret was not buying it, was actually not buying it. And I remember back then on Bandcamp was just like $15, and I thought I was just starting to collect. And I was like, yeah, I'm not just going to buy one record for 15 euros that has one track. Turns out now it's 300, 500 euros. I'm lucky to have a repress that was very limited that Vinyl Factory put out. And thank God my friend Mike Allen managed to find it. So the cheat code that I'm going to use now is for a very long time, the only way I could hear this song was by watching this YouTube video that is a live session where they recorded the album at Abbey Road. So the trick is going to be to actually watch this video because it is this one take. It's just beautiful, and yeah, that's why. So I wanted to share with you both the music, but as well as the actual video. So yeah. Saying thank you to the team from Sulphur Street that is here with us and is helping us record it on video. That they'll be part of this project called Listen. This is the episode number 1. We will have the next one on the 25th of July with the Transport guys, which is I don't know if you know them. It's a house music collective here in Bangkok. They're out of Manchester, and yeah, so they will be doing the next one about music that shaped their project here in Bangkok called Transport. I want you to be the one playing the last song, just to put the pressure on you. But before that, I will take the liberty to play one song. And this song it became one of my favorite. It became one of those tracks that my wife tells me, "Hui, I like this song. Can you not play it so often so I can still like it after a few months?" And yeah, so I was really playing it on loop and over, loud at home, on the headphones, at work. And I actually discovered it here while I was in the office. I was sending some emails, and at the same time, I was listening to this project, this podcast on YouTube called Solid Air by Derek G, who's really like what he does is really beautiful in this world of sharing music. And so I remember he played this song, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And it was literally like the first 10 seconds. I stopped the YouTube video. I turned on the sound system in the DJ booth here at the hotel, and I just played it louder. And it's really one of those songs, and it's pretty special. It's pretty unique sound wise, and yeah. So this is this incredible singer called Annahstasia, and the track is called Sunday.
So you wanna be the only one to touch me?
Yeah. So this is Annahstasia. Is I just love it, and her album. She also has like a proper album, like an actual full album, and the track "Take Care of Me." It's really something special as well. But I think this Sunday. Also, because I remember the day I was and why I was going around and so on. And yeah, it's just made really a mark on me, and I just really love it. So I wanted to share with all of you.
Absolutely beautiful.
So yeah, Fred, to finish, I will let you play the last song, and thank you everybody for being here today, and thank you for joining me on this first trial run, this first episode. And yeah, the last one is yours.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you, everyone, for coming and listening to us go on about music we like. This last one is one of mine. I couldn't tell you the title because there's no titles on the label. Seems to be another theme I'm carrying on this afternoon. But this one is from an album I made a couple of years ago called Oasis. And I think this is probably one of the more laid back tunes. So hopefully it'll be a nice closing moment.